My name is Paul Bump, and I'm a researcher at Harvard University who studies small and squishy animals. Something that unites you and I with many of these small and squishy animals on our planet is the fact that they develop from a single cell, the embryo. You may be familiar with the embryos you find in the grocery store in the form of eggs, or maybe the seed that you've put in your garden. How do these single cells end up forming such complex structures? This is the heart of the field that I work in, called developmental biology. Well, it turns out marine invertebrates are really great for understanding this because their embryos are clear and transparent and relatively easy to visualize. The species I work on is a three-banded panther worm called Hofstenia miamia. This worm has a superpower, but more about that later. The embryo begins to divide. One cell becomes two, two becomes four, and eventually these different cells get different jobs. Here I'm representing those different jobs and sort of the instructions that accompany those jobs as hats. Essentially, these cells wearing these hats will turn into things that are more familiar, like neurons or muscle cells, versus this other cell type wearing the wizard hat. It's unclear what it'll become. What about our wizard-wearing hat cells? What, in the end, do they become? For that, we have to wait for the worm to grow up. And then, it's time for that superpower I told you about earlier. The superpower of this animal comes from the fact that it can regenerate. Essentially, if I cut this worm in half, both pieces can make an entirely new animal. That would not happen to you or I. And this is where our wizard-wearing hat friends get to do their job. These cells are called stem cells. And what makes them special is that they can end up forming any other type of cell in the animal's body. In my research, I'm trying to understand components of this wizard hat. What allows those stem cells to go on and form any cell in the animal's body? Is it something special about the DNA and how it's organized? Is it the instructions that the cells are getting? To understand this better, we need to go to the lab. So follow me.
We're very lucky that this species, Hofstenia miamia, is relatively easy to work on. We can keep adult individuals here in these Tupperware, and essentially we change the water twice a week, feed them a diet of brine shrimp and rotifers, and they're pretty happy. They'll lay embryos almost every single day. What I'm doing here is beginning to collect the embryos, which I'll be using for future experiments. Essentially, you just take a pipette and scrape the embryos off the side of the box where the worms have laid the eggs. It might look kind of challenging, but trust me, after you do it a few times, it gets relatively easy to do. Once we've collected the embryos, it's now time for some experiments. Often the types of things we're doing in the lab involve fixing the tissue and then asking when and where is a certain gene expressed. Essentially the information underneath the hat that cell might be wearing. The way we do this is relatively straightforward. Essentially, it usually involves just moving a lot of clear liquids back and forth between different tubes. Really what we're doing here is we're allowing certain molecules to bind and then specifically wash certain ones to stay on and other ones to wash off. After that, it's time to go to the microscope. Here, we visualize the embryos, and again, we ask those questions of when and where are those cells getting the instructions that they need to become that nervous system cell, the muscle cell, maybe our special stem cell. What are the instructions that the stem cell is receiving in order to maintain its abilities to make any type of cell in the animal's body?
Thanks for joining me today. I hope if you remember one thing, it's that some animals have really cool cells in their body called stem cells. These allow some species that are highly regenerative to replace lost or damaged tissues. However, for these species, that's just a normal part of life. It might seem like a superpower to us, but that's just how they survive. This is just a normal part of their existence. It's what they do. And other animals have different cells that are special in their own ways. It allows them to have their own set of superpowers. So what could be hiding under their wizard hats? I think we have a lot more exploring to do.